Yes, guys, after the massive run that SHLL Stock recently saw this past week, I've decided to close out and sell my entire position. Honestly, congratulations to anyone that entered the stock before Friday, because by the end of the day, you were up massively on your position. So yes, I want to disclose in this video that I did close out my position in this stock. I came out profitable, of course. It was a great play here for a spec play for me. But I know many of you are still holding the stocks. I wanted to create this video for you guys to help you out here, because what I want to go over today is 3 different things that you can do if you are still holding the stock to ensure that you come out profitable on this trade and you don't get left bag holding this stock with some massive losses. Guys, it's gonna be a fun video. Drop a like down below if you appreciate this. You appreciate me sharing with you guys when I buy and sell stocks, and hopefully you find something value out of this video as well. So of course, first things first, I said this a couple times already, I did sell out of my shares. I don't hold the stock anymore. I don't have any plans right now to buy back into this stock. I did say in my previous video that when I bought into this stock that it was highly speculative. It was pretty much a bet and things could go either way. You could either see a 50% loss or you could see some massive upside. Well, we both know which of those 2 scenarios played out, but that does not mean that the other scenario can't play out over the coming days and weeks. So what I want to quickly go over right now for just like a minute or 2, I want you guys to pay attention to this, is that I want to show you some of the recent spec plays we've talked about on the channel, some of the most popular hype stocks on YouTube and on Robinhood and just amongst new investors. And I want to show you a common trend that I'm seeing, which I think will play out with Hyliion or Tortoise Acquisition or SHLL Stock as well. So first we have GNUS Brands here. This stock is down almost 80% from its highs, and all that hype around their launch of Cartoon Channel, Arnold Schwarzenegger believing in the company, and massive amount of press was not enough to keep this stock at its lofty valuations, and it's finally come back down to earth. Next up, we have Urban One, which is down 62% from its peak from just about a week ago. And although this company had some promise here because of recent media attention, the stock just could not sustain those peak levels, and it has sold off drastically this past week. Then of course we have the fan favorite NAT stock. And I'll be honest, with this one I got a ton of hate when I spoke out against this, because I was, pretty much against the stock from the beginning. I did not see this as a good investment. And at the time I got a ton of comments saying that what my thought process was on that was completely wrong. But fast forward a few months and it turns out that, it pretty much worked out the way I was expecting. The stock is down over 55% in a slow and painful decline, and no amount of dividends can make up for these kind of losses. Then of course we had Draftkings. This one surprisingly held up quite well, but has recently started to fall as well. It's down around 25% from its highs. It's still very overvalued in my opinion at over $11 billion market cap. And here's a fun fact, guys. Myself and a couple of others in our VIP membership group bought some put options on Draftkings, and we essentially placed a bet that the stock would see declines. Now of course that did happen, and we did come out of this trade pretty profitable here. And finally, of course, we have Nikola, which is down over 32.5% from its peak. And this is another one that I'm surprised has held up decently well over the last few weeks. But now we're finally seeing some cracks starting to show here with this stock. And I feel we will see more downside in the coming weeks here of this $23 billion market cap company, which in my opinion is absolutely not sustainable. And a share price of even $40 per share, which is where a lot of bears think this is going, is still a very overvalued for the stock. But it is definitely a realistic target for the short term. So guys, these are just 5 of many pump and dump stocks out there in the market, especially in the last few weeks, that Robinhood investors and beginner investors have been buying up. Now, I wouldn't call these penny stocks per se, because they're not, but what I would call them are speculative bets, which, have risen on FOMO and hype and have crashed when reality finally set in. Now, here's the concerning part. I'm starting to see the same thing happen with SHLL Tortoise Acquisition Hyliion Stock. Right now, in my opinion, the stock is in its pump phase. It's doing extremely well after a 40% day on Friday. And I'll be real here for a second. This could still very well continue moving much higher for the next few days or weeks. But here's the key. Sooner or later, I do believe it will follow the trend that the other stocks have seen, and it will start crashing down. Hyliion is rising right now on hype, and many people say, oh, these guys are the next Tesla, these guys are the next Nikola, they have a huge market cap, they're making products that are on the road today. And yes, some of these things are true, and I did cover them in the recent video that I made on the stock. However, what you need to realize is you got to separate the company from the stock. The company is doing really well. The company has a lot of prospects. The company is proving itself with some of their products. But the stock is running right now on complete hype. Typically, you know, when things become either too bullish or too bearish, it's a sign that we're reaching close to the top or close to the bottom. And with these pump and dump stocks, things get extremely bullish, euphoric even, if you want to call it that. And that's when it becomes the crowded trade, and as an investor, you want to step out of that, take your profits and run. But again, I want to really reiterate this point. It does not mean I've become bearish on this company at all. I think this company has massive potential for the future. But what I do think is happening right now is just hype building up into the stock, people flocking in because they don't want to miss out on possible massive gains. And that's typically when we see stocks crash really, really hard. I personally don't want to be stuck in a stock that crashes, and I'm happy with my gains here on this stock. And I'm fine now just watching this from the sidelines here, whether it continues moving higher or if it crashes and starts going lower. But now here's the important thing. If you guys are still holding the stock today as of recording this video, I want to present to you 3 different options that are available where you can actually come out still profitable on this trade and still position yourself for some more upside if that's something that you want to do. But I do want to preface this by saying this is not financial advice, just my opinion, and this is all hypothetical on different options and different strategies available, especially when you're doing these speculative plays. So now if you believe that this pump is just getting started and we can move from $25 right now to $50, $70, $90, $100 per share, then of course selling right now seems like a bad decision. So of course the reasonable thing to do would be to continue holding. However, what if the stock starts moving lower tomorrow? Then what happens? Well, in that case, unfortunately what happens is a lot of investors start to fear, start to panic, and sell out of their position like that. But what you could do instead is plan ahead, you know, say, okay, I want to continue holding this because I see more upside, but I'm going to set a stop loss here. Now, stop loss is meant to pretty much automatically execute a sell order when a certain price is hit. So $25 per share right now, so your cost basis is $20. Say you set a stop loss for $22. If the stock price anytime from now on hits $22, it'll automatically execute a sell. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these stop losses typically do work with companies that have high liquidity, but if there is massive panic and selling and there's gap downs and all that kind of stuff, it could skip over your stop loss order and it may not execute. So it is something you still have to monitor, but it is a precaution. It's something you can keep in there to lock in profits in case the stock price starts moving lower. The other risk with doing this strategy though is that the stock could drop to say 22 if you set the stop there, hit that price, and then start moving higher. And then, you know, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I didn't set a stop loss and all this stuff. Guys, don't regret your decisions. Make a decision, be methodical about it, and just stick to it. That's typically a sign of a very successful investor. I'll tell you this, typically with long-term investments, I will never set a stop loss. When a stock drops lower, I will just buy more shares. I've been burnt many times in the past, and I can give you examples on that on another video if you guys want to see that on why I don't like stop losses for long-term investments. But I have missed out on massive upside because of stop losses on long-term investments. But when it comes to speculative plays, all bets are off. You want to lock in profits at the first sign of any weakness, and stop losses are typically your best friend here. So this is what I personally did. I completely sold out of my position. There's many reasons that you may want to do this, but the most obvious, of course, is to just lock in your profits. You see the price moved up way too high, you don't think it's sustainable, and you want to move on. Take your gains and say thank you very much. Now, of course, you're probably going to feel FOMO as soon as the stock price moves higher after you sell. But just remember, no one can time the absolute top or the absolute bottom in stocks. If you find value, you buy. If you think it's overvalued, you sell. Just keep it simple. Now this third strategy I think is something that many of you are going to like. So if you don't want to continue holding, you still want profits, you want the best of both worlds really, what you could do is sell your principal position and just keep the remaining on house money. So say you spend $1,000 on the stock and now your investment is worth $1,500. What you could do is sell off $1,000 worth to get back your initial investment, and then just keep that $500 as house money. Let it do its thing, let it run up, let it, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, the worst possible scenario now for you is that you break even on this trade. The best possible scenario, if things work out for this company, it becomes a multi-$100 billion company. You're going to be very, very wealthy over time. I know a lot of investors like this kind of strategy because it takes risk off the table. You've pretty much taken back your money that you've put into that investment, and now you're just kind of, whatever happens, happens. It does not matter. So what I want to really say is that I know when a stock is in an uptrend, everything looks good for it. It's very hard to convince yourself to sell and take your profits. All I can say to that is don't be greedy. If you're happy with the profits right now, there's nothing wrong with selling and realizing those profits. The worst thing you can do is say, oh, you know what? I think it's going to go up a little bit more tomorrow. I think it's going to go up a little bit more the next few weeks. I think it's going to, there's all this good stuff. Stop. If you're happy with your profits today, there's nothing wrong in selling. You're always going to feel FOMO if you sell and the stock's going to go higher because we can never time the top. But I can guarantee you this, if you sell at $25 and the stock drops to $20, you are not going to regret selling out of that. In fact, you're going to say, wow, I'm so glad I sold out of that stock, and realize a profit instead of losses on this position. It's all psychological, guys, and really at the end of the day, you have to be reasonable with your investments, not be greedy, because guess what? The greedier you are, the more money you're probably going to end up losing in the stock market. Also remember that this stock is running on hype right now, and once that hype starts dying down, people aren't talking about it anymore, something very similar we've seen with the other stocks we discussed in this video, the stock itself will start declining as less and less investors are buying more shares. Now again, I want to reiterate, I am not bearish on the company, but the stock chart, that's a different story altogether. And guys, of course, if you have a differing opinion, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm happy with my profits. I've moved on from this stock, and I may enter back in the future if valuations get below $20 again, but we'll wait and see if that happens. I have absolutely no FOMO, no regrets on selling out, and I do actually hope that the stock goes up to $50 or $100 per share so a lot of you guys can make more money on it. But just remember, don't be greedy. So if we see any new developments on the stock or anything changes, if you guys want me to make a video on that, let me know in the comment section down below. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this was informative, and I hope it helps you not only with this investment, but with future investments as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.